Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you could see it and you could purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today, we're discussing a blast from the past, 1959 to be specific. Although this model, the Jaeger-LeCoultre Tribute to Deep Sea, was launched in 2011. The model you see here, the US style, a 359-piece limited edition at 40.5 millimeters in stainless steel, only 1.5 millimeters larger than the 1959 original. This is a very true tribute that almost entirely recaps the size, proportions, and even details like the plexiglass crystal of the original watch. On my 16-centimeter circumference wrist, it sits quite easily. Handsome, comfortable, and relatively thin, all things considered. It is an automatic winding diving alarm, and it works a bit differently than modern dive watches. You can see the slender 13.8 millimeter profile, even with the plexiglass, is laudable, making this an easy watch to wear as an alternate dress option. It will slide underneath the cuff, and from lug to lug, the timepiece has a reasonable 49.4 millimeter span with 20 millimeters between the lugs. What appears at first glance to be a vintage tropic style perforated rubber strap is in fact embossed leather. So this embossed calfskin, a bit more rich than what you would have found in 1959, and it's important to note that the watch was made for about 3 model years early on, with production tapering dramatically after 1959 and 1960. You can see that there is plenty of ventilation, and that you can easily fit the watch to a 20 millimeter water resistant band to take it swimming, 100 meters water resistant, a true vintage evocative pin buckle, and the timepiece with a little bit of a nuance to its finish. Minimal beveling on the lug sides. You can see the flanks of the lugs taper a little bit, with a bevel expanding towards the squared off vintage inspired ends. The polish of the overlapping bezel and the polish of the case back, creating the impression of an even thinner case. There's a satin finished mid case running longitudinally, and you can see there is a bezel that at first glance appears to be a rotating dive bezel, but is in fact fixed and loomed. We'll talk about that in a moment. Back when there was no fixed ISO definition of what a dive watch should be, and remember, since 1996 we have the ISO 6425. That is the definition of a legal dive watch. Back in 1959, JLC was able to elaborate a bit. They were able to create a diving alarm using their Memovox calibers. They were able to craft something that would ring to remind you when to surface, rather than remind you with the subtlety of a diving bezel. And that's exactly what we have right here. Now, you want to hear the watch sing, and I'm going to oblige you. Keep in mind, this is a JLC caliber 956 that has been redesigned to be heard underneath the water. So it's resonant and deep, throaty and powerful, but it is not a singing sustain above the water. It's a little bit like a frog, and this watch does indeed have a frog in its throat. A timepiece that uses the US dial. I should be clear that there were 2 versions of this watch back in the 50s, and there are 2 versions of this watch today, as the European dial in the original run was the scarcer of the 2, and the watch was principally built for the US market, where it used the LeCoultre trademark. In Europe, it was a Jaeger-LeCoultre signed dial, and there were other detailed differences, but those are the big ones. What matters today is that in the modern era, it is the US dial that is the scarcer of the 2. 359 of the US dial versus 959 of the Jaeger-LeCoultre European dial. So of the 2 tribute to deep seas today, this is the rare one. I should also mention that the dial is handsome and nicely executed, sort of ecru faux patina, and there are syringe-style hands, as well as a polished Lancet-style counterweighted center seconds hand. The watch features a modified caliber 956, which we just discussed. Now, it is a modern Memovox caliber, though you can see on the back there is the image of the deep sea explorer with spear and rebreather that would have graced the back of the original. Again, this is a very true recreation. The watch powered by an automatic winder with unidirectional action and ceramic rotor bearings, free sprung for shock resistance, beating away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, pivoting on 23 joules. It features stop seconds as well as a 45-hour power reserve and that underwater resonating alarm. You can also see that there is a plexiglass creating a wonderful off-axis distortion, a little bit like what you find on an Omega Moonwatch. So the watch, very true to history and 100 meters water resistant, it is still capable of getting wet and wild. The watch comes with a lovely and evocative vintage-inspired boxed set, including a period-correct green LeCoultre signed box, and a spare plexiglass. It is the full package, a rare modern JLC diving alarm that is a classic in its own right. See this tribute to deep sea and make it yours on the watch box. And we're back with the LeCoultre tribute to deep sea. You can see that the bezel features 4 fully loomed triangular reference marks, and the center disc of the dial used for setting the alarm is fully loomed, so you can actually set the alarm at night before a dive without any recourse to a separate lighting arrangement.